Hi, I'm Milena and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another round of TBR board. So this time we're going to play the board for my September TBR. I'm not joining in any particular readathons. I know there are a few going on, so I might join a few spontaneously. I know that G from Book Roast is doing a new magical readathon and she made something incredible. I will leave the link to her announcement video down below. I'm sure you've seen it, but if you haven't, do yourself a favor and go check it out. If you're newer, then I would suggest you first check out the introduction and the explanation of the TBR board that I did last month. That video is chaptered, so you can just watch the little beginning and come back to this video so you can see what books I'm going to be reading in September. Like I said last time, I had a very cute pin that was stuck at customs and it did arrive, so I'll show you. Incredibly cute pin. It is from Literary Emporium on Etsy. I will leave the link to their Etsy shop down below. And I also have a bookmark with the same text that says, "Go away, I'm reading," which is very much my attitude when I'm trying to finish my TBR. I also asked you guys what I should do when I finish my TBR board. I have added two little things within the rules of the TBR board. The first one is that if I don't finish 1, 2 or 3 books for my previous TBR, I have to go back the number of tiles of the books that I haven't read. Right now I'm reading the last book of my August TBR, so I think I'm going to be okay. At least I'm going to be halfway through 1 September start. I don't have to go back any tiles for this game. Let's say if I wasn't able to finish the last book, then I go back 1 tile because I want to reward myself when I finish the board. And if not reading the books I put on my TBR don't have any consequences, then I'm just buying books because I have played the game 3 or 4 times, not because I've actually read books, so that feels a bit old. One of you suggested in a comment that I would get a special edition of a favorite classic, and I love that idea. You can see it behind me, but I have a few Penguin cloth-bound editions. Most of them are books that I have read but that are favorites. So what I think I will do is when I finish the board, I will get a Penguin cloth-bound edition of a favorite book. Without further ado, let's throw for the first time. So last time we ended on pick a card, so let's throw. Okay, that's a 1. Oh, and that is a contemporary with a silver lining, so I have to pick a card. And this is magical or fantasy element. Okay, so the first throw was a contemporary with this TBR card, magical or fantasy element, which is I think quite difficult with a contemporary. I think the most logic way to go with this is a magical realism, but all the magical realism I own is historical. So I did find a book, not entirely sure if it fits, but it fits the most. That is Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a utopian. I think it might therefore be set in the future. At least it's not historical. It's I think a version of what our world could be. So contemporary with a fantasy element because this book has monsters. I know that it is about a young girl. There are no monsters anymore. Or so the children in the city of Lucille have been told. Jem and her best friend, Redemption, have grown up with this lesson all their lives. But when Jem meets Pet, she begins to question what she's been told. Pet has come to hunt the evil lurking in Redemption's house. I think this kind of fits the prompt, and I also just really want to read it. Throw number 2. And that's a 4. That is a historical fiction with a silver lining, so a card. And that says audiobook shelf. Right, we got another TBR card. We have an historical fiction with audiobook shelf. So that means that I am going to grab my phone. Okay, go into the audiobooks. Okay, the bookshop on the shore I'm listening to right now. Eva Luna by Isabel Allende. I think that's historical fiction. But Wolf Hall. I do have this book physically, but I put it on my audiobook shelf because it's read by Dan Stevens. It's a dreamy Downton Abbey guy, and he is such a good narrator. I've listened to multiple audiobooks that he narrated. We're going to put Hilary Mantel on the TBR. Of course, I'm going to put one of her books on my TBR, which is Woolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. You may have seen me very happily find this in a mini library, and yeah, this will be the first book I'm reading that I found in a mini library, but it's chunky, even though the audiobook is only 8 hours. It has 600 pages. How can that only be 8 hours? Maybe it's split up in 2 parts. Well, I'm going to discover that, or Dan Stevens narration is really fast, but I don't think so. I know that this is about the Tudors and about Thomas Cromwell, who was a lowborn charmer, bully, master of deadly intrigue, and finally most powerful of all Henry VIII's courtiers. Courtiers? I don't know. I know that this is maybe the most beloved historical fiction on BookTube. I'm excited to read it and to put it in my September TBR. Okay, rule number 3 is a 5. And that is a contemporary. The third one was a contemporary. So on the brink of summer, I'm going to very belatedly read Spring by Ellie Smith. I plan to read Quartet this year and I'm a season behind. So probably in the fall I will read Spring, and hopefully in the winter I'm going to read Summer. But this is the third book in the series, which is not really a series because they have all different characters, but this is a bit of literary fiction, a bit of stream of consciousness with characters that are very much of our time, who are from different generations, and it's been quite interesting to read the Quartet. The first one I've read Autumn and Winter. I think my biggest thing with this is that the younger generation isn't written very well, and I'm very curious to see if that is done more to my taste, I think, or if it's done better in this book. I am hesitant. I don't know if I will love this, but I am very determined to finish the Quartet. Row number 4 is a 6. And that is a modern classic with a silver lining, so I need to grab a TBR card, and that says horror or gothic element. Number 4 was a modern classic with this TBR card with a horror or gothic element. I right away thought of Daphne du Maurier, but I don't own any books by Daphne du Maurier, only Rebecca, and I've read that one. So I decided to pick a book that boy gifted me over a year ago and that I featured in my very first BookTube book haul, so I thought it was about time that I read it, and that is The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. This is a dystopian about what could have happened if the Germans had won World War II. It's a thin one. I think it was originally written in the 60s. Looking at the cover, I don't think I have to explain why this has a horror element, because you don't even need to know what the book is about. The cover says quite enough. I know that this is also a TV series, which I really want to watch with Boy, but of course first I want to read the book. I'm definitely putting some books on this TBR that I am hesitant about, this one included. But I like getting a little bit out of my comfort zone, especially because we're going into October where I'm going to read all Victorian literature, which is very much in my comfort zone. You know, need to shake it up a little bit. Rule number 5. And that's a 5. And that is a pet pig. Okay, I'm making the cats, probably Mark's, Molly won't come for food, pick between Mrs. England by Stacey Halls, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel by Society by Mary Ann Sheffer and Annie Barrows, and The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, because they're all recent purchases and I want to prioritize those. So let's see which one I'm going to read. Oh, first I need to get treats. Max, Molly! Oh, hello! Max! We have a winner. Yes, they eat it. We have a winner. The 5th rule was a pet pig, which is my favorite way to pick a book in the TBR game. And Max very kindly picked a highly anticipated book, which is Mrs. England by Stacey Halls. This is a historical fiction with some, again, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier vibes. It's really what I'm getting from this, and simultaneously some Jane Eyre vibes, because Rebecca was based on Jane Eyre, so it's within the chain. This is about a young woman who becomes a nurse to a few children in a big house, and the mother is becoming incredibly mysterious. She doesn't seem to show any interest in her children, and I think it's going to be a bit mysterious. I have loved and adored the previous book that Stacey Halls reads. They are my ultimate comfort read, my ultimate dive into a different world read. So I'm really excited for this, and I will not at all be surprised if this will be my first book of September. So draw number 6 and the very last row is a 3. And that is another modern classic. Row number 6 was a modern classic, and I'm going to pick a book I know I will love, and that is Jacob's Room by Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is one of the authors whose backlist I want to read. I haven't done that a whole lot this year yet, so we're getting on with the next novel that I haven't read yet by Virginia Woolf. This is one of her earlier ones, and I think it is written in 2 parts. I think one part is where we get to know him through his communication with other people, and in the other part we get to know him as a young man caught under a glare of a London street lamp. It is 1914. He is 26 and Europe is on the brink of war. This tantalizing novel heralds Woolf's bold departure from the traditional methods of the novel, with experimental play between time, reality, memory and desire. Really excited to read another Virginia Woolf because honestly I'm really craving it. So that was my September TBR. I'm pretty happy that I got to put a lot of different sorts of reads in there, especially because last year during Victober I noticed that I love reading Victorian literature and really giving it my all in a month, but I need to make sure that I have some different reads around that month, otherwise I'm going to burn out a little bit on classics. I'm happy that I got some contemporary and some historical fiction in here, so that I'm all ready and craving Victorian literature next month. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to tag along on this journey with me reading these books, then don't forget to subscribe and you can watch some reading vlogs. And I hope to see you in another video. Doei!